What's trending today?
All right, let's bring it back to the home front here. Really happy to have on the program from the American Legislative Exchange Council. As you know, they're a great organization that works with states and state legislators on different policy. They have a new ranking on the states that work, a labor policy roadmap across America. Labor policy, which states are effective at working, which ones are not so effective at working. And I'm speculating, this is my prediction before we start the interview to ask him about, but as we look at some of these and some of the policies that work and don't work in states, I'm guessing there's a slight correlation between the productivity of states that work and have a lot of people that are on the workforce doing what they do between labor union states and non-labor union states. That's where we start off with the program today. Really happy to have on from ALEC, Mr. Alan Jernigan. Alan, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on the show. First and foremost, let's talk about this report that you guys came out with, the productivity. Are you seeing productivity increase in most states across the country when it comes to the workforce?
I think there's definitely a correlation there. And, ALEC has a long history of working on pro-worker policies that really focus on increasing worker freedom and economic mobility. And that's really what this report is about. It's giving workers the freedom to make decisions and kind of find their own path and their own version of the American dream.
Yeah. Let's start off first with the Trump administration right now, the tariff negotiations that he wanted to do, the renegotiation of trade deals, and bringing manufacturing back, wanting to make things in America again, bringing back the pharmaceutical industry, making computer chips again here in the United States, making the raw materials and shipping them back into the country. Although it's early, obviously it's only been a month or so since we've really talked about these issues. Are you anticipating that to increase productivity in the workforce here in the country based on the federal policies that we're seeing right now?
I think there's a chance. Looking at the state level, it's really kind of focusing on giving those workers and the businesses the choice to kind of pursue their opportunity, just really finding the free market and finding things that work for them. And there's 50 different states, 50 different laboratories of democracy. So giving the states and the workers in those states kind of the opportunity and the freedom to really do what they want and find success in their own way.
Yeah, you bet. Now, based on some of these standards and curriculum that you've put in place to look at these studies, what have you seen that has led to a lot of great productivity? Has it been maybe a deregulated state compared to a more heavily regulated state where taxes are involved for businesses? What's worked and what's not worked from what you've seen?
Yeah, so with the report, we wanted to really do a wide snapshot of the labor policies that are on the books in every state. So we wanted to do a snapshot that not only tells the stories of the workers, but kind of how the businesses are working as well. So we look at, private sector worker policies, from right to work, secret ballot protections, independent contractors, looking at occupational licensing, allowing workers to move freely between states and kind of find less regulated areas while keeping the public safety and health in mind. And then also looking at kind of public sector worker policies and how those workers interact with unions and the government themselves.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the unions. Are unions what are slowing down productivity in some states, or are they helping, do you think?
Well, I think that a lot of times it depends on the unions themselves, but it's really fascinating looking at the rankings, how of the top 28 states, so there are 26 states across the country that have right-to-work protections in place, and all 26 of those fall in the top 28 of the states ranked.
Shocker. I was anticipating that, but that's kind of what we expected from a report like that. So let's go over some of these. The top 5 states, according to your report, for some of the most productive and when it comes to work policy includes the state of Arizona at number 1, Utah number 2, Georgia, Arkansas, and Florida. From those 5 alone, what were some of the similarities that you had seen, obviously not only with the right to work and the choice to join a union or not, but some of the other policies, maybe when it comes to regulations and taxes or the incentivizing to bring businesses in or to hire workers? What kind of correlation did you see between these?
Well, these states have really prioritized, protecting their workers' rights and limiting government interference, kind of getting government out of the way, letting the businesses and workers find what works best because they know best. Going through the policies, as you mentioned, the right to work is definitely a trend among all 3, but they've all kind of done different things that really made them stand apart. Arizona has banned union release time, so preventing government workers from working for the union while being paid a salary by the government, protecting those taxpayer dollars. Georgia is one of 3 states, rather, that has taken some secret ballot protections requiring any private company that's received state economic incentives to protect their workers' information and require that those elections are held through secret ballot.
Yeah. Very interesting. We're talking with Alan Jernigan. He's with the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, which you can find on their website at alec.org. You can find the latest report here, the states that work a labor policy roadmap across America. Let's look at it from a different angle and go to a generational thing. The younger generation. I'm a millennial. I apologize for my millennial-isms that many of us have had, and the changing of the workforce and those working at a younger level beyond that as well. The younger generation, starting with the millennials, came out and said that they are more open to working for a business where they might make less money if the work environment is more cushy and they have more downtime and they're more comfortable, and whatever the situation is, that they're not necessarily out for the largest amount of money, but for all the other sweet perks that go along with it to make their life better and more comfortable. Have you seen that trend as well? And what has that done to the workforce and the work productivity on the job? Are we doing as much work, or has productivity within the workforce actually slowed down because, well, I want to live a little bit more cushy environment when I go to work for my 9 to 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think workers are most productive when they're happy. They enjoy their situation, they enjoy their arrangement, they enjoy what they do. Even looking past generationally with independent contractors, I mean, a vast majority of them prefer that arrangement, allowing them to kind of pick their hours, pick where they work, pick how they work. So I think that kind of leads to productivity and really helps kind of internally with the workers, just being happy and being more productive.
Yeah, that is true. Have you seen as well at the same time an increase of maybe people that like to go to contract work instead of being held down from a 9 to 5 clock in, clock out every day, but to actually be kind of a freelancer? I know that jumped dramatically during COVID. Is that still an environment? Are we still seeing a lot of people that choose that type of lifestyle to go again to kind of choose their own schedule and to work their own the way they want to?
Absolutely. And, that kind of goes back to the worker freedom, that those workers are choosing to kind of work certain jobs that they are really passionate about. It allows them to work where they want, when they want, and really, just kind of be their own person, find their own version of their own American dream.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Now, on the other side of the coin, we got a few minutes left here. The bottom 5 states on your report includes at number 46, Connecticut. Then we have New York, Oregon, Massachusetts, and Alaska at number 50 at the bottom of the list. That one kind of surprised me, Alan. Why is Alaska near the bottom here?
Yeah, Alaska is an interesting one. Geographically, they're not as big on bringing in individuals to come work in the state and people leaving. It's a very different environment. But they became in last. They haven't passed any of the recommended reforms that are covered through the model policy or through the report. So none of the 10 model policies happened. And even just looking at some of the statistics surrounding the state, they had the second highest reliance on the government to create jobs in the state.
Wow.
And they've also struggled with private sector employment growth. And, I think that's really telling that without some of these labor policies in place, they've kind of struggled by some of the performance metrics.
That's really interesting. I would think that with how beautiful it is, how isolated it is for people that just want to get away and disappear, that would be the place to do it. So maybe that's not as popular as some would think, to want to go out and just disappear up in the great state of Alaska.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. Last question for you. We got just about a minute left here. If you could give some recommendation to these other states that are struggling, that are at the bottom of the list, outside of the basics, passing some right to work laws and allowing some more freedom in the market, what else would you recommend, and how can we start getting these states on board to be a little bit more productive and incentivized to actually grow their economy?
Yeah, I think it kind of trickles down even from the government and businesses, and really at the end of the day, it's the workers. How do you give the workers those freedom and flexibility to want to come to your state, but even once they're at your state, give them that opportunity to find what they want to do, live the life they want, and find the opportunities that are best, not just for them, but their families as well. And at the end of the day, that's what this report comes down to, is being a resource for legislators to look at what they have on the books, give it workers a chance to kind of see which landscapes are going to be best for them, and then the same for businesses.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I hope we see more of these states actually get on board with some of this policy. I know there's a major reform going on in that work industry, like you said before, making the workers happy and offering other opportunities as well, like daycare for the actual workers, for their kids to drop off there at the work site and being able to take care of those while they're working, which is really interesting, along with almost making it their own communities, their own little towns with every resource they need right there on the site. We'll see if that's the future of the workforce. That would be really interesting. Alan, we appreciate the time, my friend. Thank you so much for this report, for coming on. We got to get you back on and do this again here real soon.
Absolutely.
Hey, you bet. Appreciate it. Alan Jernigan with American Legislative Exchange Council. You can find him online at alec.org. We'll break some more of this down when we come back.